Hey y'all, this is Cyndee. I'm the Tireless Tangler. It is so good to see you all back on my channel today. We are doing the pattern called KASUAL. It is by Iratze Unzurunzaga Garate, CZT. Cyndee's awesome, isn't she? Okay. So this is what the pattern looks like. The pattern itself is just the empty frames, right? But the beauty of this is what can you do on the insides, right? And here I've got some sort of ballerinish looking things. I've got torn screen in here, flux and poke root. And in my sketch pad, I tried a whole bunch of different fills, from crescent moon to whatever this might be, to some betweed and printemps and some well variations. Then I went through in my Zentangle primer volume 1 and tried some of the fills in there, Be Light and some of these other things. So here's another page full of some of the same ones. I was trying to decide between having an inner aura and not having an inner aura, and I decided that I like it better without. So, of course, you can choose what to do, but I'm going to show you how to draw the frame, and then what you do with the insides is entirely up to you. So, let's get started. Okay. I'm using one of my very last few precious original Zentangle tiles today. I have to give it some extra love. Yeah. So I'm going to show you how to do this frame with a grid, a penciled grid, simply so we can have a nice outcome. However, it's pretty easy to draw once you know once you figure it out. So, you know, if you want to go freehand and sort of let it fly loose, that's cool too. There is nothing wrong with that. It works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a borderline around the edge first, really thin. So I've got plenty of maximum room on the tile. I have chewed up my pencil end, so yeah. Hopefully you guys are going to be able to see this, and if I don't think you can, then I'll put up an example of this. Okay, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but something like this. And now, make sure I'm zoomed and all that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide one side of this in thirds. So, and another one here. Okay. And then I'm going to turn it the other way, and I'm going to put maybe fourths in here. I just want a nice big size square, right? And if it's a little longer than a square, it's no big deal. We'll just have an extra wide section in the middle, and that ought to make everybody happy. All right, so this is what I've got. It's just it's a 3x4 grid of squares, okay? So now I'm going to switch and draw with my 01. I will be using a black 01, a black PN, and a brown 01 today. I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but I'm not quite firing on all thrusters, so you guys be patient with me, okay? Okay, so what we're going to do is right in the middle of each of these squares, I'm going to put, on these lines, I'm going to put a line, just a straight line, not very long, okay? And I'm going to do that all the way across. Okay? And then I'm going to do that down here and try to get that right under this one. This is always something I struggle with. Try not to let them get too long. And again down here. Okay. And we can go ahead and put one down here on the bottom row. Just to make, we'll finish up our edges really nicely. And we'll do that same thing up here. I know why I can't see. I don't have my lights turned up. I had them turned down last night. Whoops, sorry. That's a little better. Hopefully everybody can see now. Sorry about that. Okay. So assuming that first part doesn't have to be re-recorded, let's keep going. Now, on our 2 lines on our third side, we're going to, on these lines in the middle of this box sort of thing, we're going to put a little line across that, okay? Try to get in approximate the same spot in the middle. Now the step out has a lot of this all put together into one step, but I found this a lot easier to do like this. Okay, so now, excuse me, we're going to, on the top row, we're going to put a line directly under this and connect it on the sides, okay? We don't need the full form on the top or the bottom rows. So I'm going to do on top of this, so on the inside of the outer border. Does that make sense? I've been a little crazy the last few days, so Mari's bringing friends home from school, so I'm trying to finish everything before he gets back. All right. So now, we're going to make 2 boxes from in between these, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to make this the middle, right? We want them to be, you can make them thin or you can make them thick like this, but this width will determine how thick these lines are, right? So, as you will. Wow, Cyndee. Come on, girl. You can do it. Uh-oh. My brother-in-law is out back, and he is trying to put a new fence in for us, or at least some new fence panels in spots. And I have the back door all blocked off so the dogs can't get out. And I was hoping they wouldn't notice anybody was out there, but if River starts to bark a lot, you guys understand, please, that I don't have a choice. I can't wait. As far as the video goes, because I'm about to have 3 teenage boys screaming and running around and being stupid. Because, you know, they're 14 and they can. So I'm always happy that Mari has friends that want to come over. That means that he's a good friend at school. When people want to hang out with your kids, that's a good sign that you've got good kids, I think. Now, if these get a little too long or too short, it's not really going to matter that much in the grand scheme of things. But of course, as always, you guys do better than me, right? And you can draw these in the way you wish. Just whatever way, take your time. Take care with your lines, because this is one of those patterns that can really look cool if you're careful with it, but if you're not, it's a sloppy mess. So just breathe. And some of you might feel more comfortable drawing this in your sketch pad or on scratch paper first. That is not a poor idea, but I hope that I'm going to show you how to get by the issues that I ended up having to begin with. So hopefully my experience can help you save some practice time. All right, so this is what we've got now, okay? Now, we can all make an S shape, right? That's all we're going to do now is make S shapes going from one to the other. But the trick is getting them to go to the right place, right? So here's what I want you to tell yourself. Start whichever side you want to start on. But start by telling yourself bottom to middle, okay? Well, so start a line from the bottom line here, make an S shape, and we want to curve it to the middle line, okay? So bottom to middle. Then you're going to aura that to the top, okay? But all you need to remember is bottom to middle, okay? As long as you go in order, you're going to be fine. So bottom to middle. And aura. Okay, so we're going to do that all the way down, bottom to middle, all right? Bottom to middle, S shape. Aura. Okay. Bottom to middle, aura. Now those don't have to be perfect, but of course the more time you take with them, the nicer they'll look. Okay, keep going. Bottom to middle. I sure hope I don't mess this up. No, I got this. I got this, guys, and you got it too. Bottom to middle and aura. Bottom to middle and aura. Okay, and one more. Bottom to middle, aura. All right, now I've got some more bottom to middles here, okay? So, bottom to middle. This one doesn't have another side because we don't need it. And aura. Right? And here, bottom to middle. And aura. Bottom to middle. And aura. Bottom to middle. And aura. Once I figured this out, this was much easier. All right, one more row over here, and I think I missed one here, bottom to middle, and aura. Right? Okay, we're gonna do that again. So this is the middle. And aura. Bottom to middle and aura. Bottom to middle and aura. See how easy this is? It's much easier. Because I ended up putting these in the wrong place constantly. All right, now I'm going to turn our tile. Or are we? All right, well, we sort of are. We're going to shift it a little bit. So now we're going to go up, and we're going to go from the middle to the bottom, okay? So this is the middle, and we're going to go to the bottom of this S shape, right? And ara. Okay. Middle to bottom and ara. Right? Middle to bottom and ara. So there's a lot of middle and bottoming in this tangle, at least my version. Middle to bottom and ara. And if you can sort of get into that rhythm, it's really not hard at all. All right, just keep going. It's every place you see a spot that's not hooked up. The middle to the bottom and ara. So when you start off in the first round, you do bottom to middle, and coming the other direction, you do middle to bottom. See how that works so nicely? Middle to bottom. So see, this really isn't hard to draw once you sort of get the hang of it. And going loosey-goosey without a penciled grid is certainly simple to do. You can certainly do that. Okay, let's see, where have I missed? Middle to bottom. And middle to bottom. I don't have my lights adjusted now that it's too late. All right, now on the edges, what I did was I put a vertical line that's right across here on each of these. And then we just join these up. Okay, middle to bottom and ara. Right there at the half, right? And this will come down to the middle, bottom to middle. So when you're S curving down, it's bottom to middle, and when you're S curving up, it's middle to bottom. Okay, if that's now confusing. Hopefully not. Bottom to middle. Oops. I tried putting a partial one out here and I didn't like the way it looked, so that's why I'm choosing to do it this way. Middle to bottom. And I have to repeat that for myself because otherwise I get it wrong, so be patient with me on that. But hopefully it'll help somebody else. All right, and that's how I'm going to handle the edges, middle to bottom. Hopefully this isn't confusing, but if you think it was, think about how it was when I was saying all kinds of stuff in here. Middle to bottom, bottom to middle. And middle to bottom, going up. All right, and I'm going to repeat that over here, and we've got a really pretty little grid here ready to go. I'm trying to get that even with these, but I'm not sure how much luck I'm having. So, all right, and I'm just gonna finish up now, bottom to middle, and middle to bottom. Bottom to middle. And Ara, and middle to bottom. And if you're translating this into another language, I apologize if this doesn't translate. Bottom line to the middle line, and the middle line to the bottom line. Whoops, and Ara, nicer than that, please. The bottom of the line and the middle. Okay. And the last one. And ta-da! All right, now I'm going to put my pen down for just a second and grab my eraser and take out some of these lines. I'm not sure that that will be a big deal, but these ones that cross in the middle kind of bug me. The borderline does, I don't care about, but I don't want that to mess up my shading. Not that it would, not that it would, but they can. And I'm just a purist, okay? Yeah, well, if I was, then I wouldn't be erasing at all, would I? Ha ha. So have you guys decided what fill you're going to put in yours? Maybe some of your go-tos. You can, sorry about this, tuck that in. You can practice them in your sketch pad to see which ones work. I found some worked pretty well and some didn't. And so I know that I'm probably going to use a lot of flux and some torn screen and maybe alternate them. And switching now to my 01 in brown, okay? And of course my whole discussion with myself early on was whether to put an inner aura in here first and then tangle inside of that. And I tried it both ways, and I didn't really like the separation, but normally when you're going to do a fill, an aura in that area first is always good for separation. But in this instance, I felt like it didn't work as well. So the question I need to ask myself is, do I want to fill all of these spaces or just a few of them like I did here? I kind of like the possibilities of leaving some blank, and I could, I don't know. We could do like a pattern of them, like maybe a zigzag, and then put a zigzag with torn screen, and then put flux in the ones. Okay, give me a second. I'm thinking there's a Z here that might be interesting to play with. Right here. But it leaves me an extra row. So I'm not sure. I just know I liked how this turned out, and I liked these. These aren't bad, but I can't quite get them all similar, so I kind of didn't like. And I didn't like that I wasn't able to pack more of my poke root in, although that works for me too. Okay, so let me decide what I'm going to do here real quickly. I'm going to do these 4 in the middle in flux, and then I'm going to maybe circle that with something else. Let's see how that goes. These 4 in the middle. So, flux, if you'll remember, if you've done a couple of these videos with me, you've seen me use it. Hang on, let me adjust this light so we don't get any shadow on there. There, that's better. Okay, so I'm just gonna, for me, in this shape, I'm going to start at this point right here. And I'm gonna make mine, hopefully, biggish, although we're not gonna be able to fit too much biggish in. And take your time, do a nice, neat job. Run it right up against that edge, and when you have little spots of light, then just ink those in. Make your little stem line, your vein line for your stem, make it curve with your flux shape. You can even add a curve where there's not really. And if you have bigger spaces, just drop a little orb in, like that. And just try to fit them in where you can. The dogs are scratching at the back door as they want to see what's going on out there. The puppy is particularly bad about that. So we're going to get a lot of chit-chatting here. All right, now I'm going to go over to the other side, and I'm going to sort of start out here, and we're going to meet in the middle. Now I'm going to start drawing them behind. It's still following my curve. Whoops. And still inking around any little blank spots. With this particular version of this, the inking is really effective. And the little curved lines really give it the effect that you want, that those are curving. Okay. Like I said, my brain's not really present today. There we go. To orb or to draw behind? I'm going to draw behind on this one. And then orb these little tiny spots. I'll ink that. And just stick a larger orb in here. And ink around that. And try not to make a big mess. There. That'll work. Okay. So the 4 in the middle. Yep. So these 4. All right. Maybe less chit-chat. I want to thank you guys that are actually watching to the end of these videos. I know who you are. I can tell by your comments, and I really appreciate you. Of course, that doesn't mean that you aren't out there if you don't leave comments. It's just that I happen to know by the comments I get who has watched to the end. Anyway, you know what I mean. That's not a criticism. It's a shout out to my Zenders. 'Cause y'all rock. Zenders rock. Now there's a t-shirt. Let's do that one curvy. Put some little orbs in down here. Make that sloppy line work go away. There we go. Oops, I I forgot to come at this from the other side. Well, we'll have to go over there and do that. All right. Don't worry too much about your black lines. By the time we end up finishing the shading and everything, they are going to be worn out, and we're going to go over them and redefine them again. So don't worry too much about those. I'm actually blown away that the dogs aren't barking more. Yay. Yay. You're all right. Okay, how are everybody's puppies and kitties? And it occurred to me the other day I called Kanji amigo. So, sorry, little Kanji. Kanji, hi. Jazzy, hi. I'm coming back to get the kitties' names. Whoops. I figure if I keep talking, they won't notice what's going on out back. Do you think it's working? I don't think so. I think they're all a little agitated. They can't go outside and guard. But since he's got the gate down, I don't want them running around the neighborhood causing mayhem and murder. Because Simba knows how to stop. The rest of them, I 50-50. And with Simba, it's whether he wants to or not, right? Okay, so those are pretty. So 2 more in here. If this goes too long, I may speed it up, but I know you guys don't like that, so. And I really don't mind, because other than really bad stuff or loud stuff, I really don't edit much out anymore. Most of you know me and my family anyway, and I figure you have been praying for us for years. There are some of you who have been around since before I adopted Mari, for the horrible years that I spent trying to get somebody to do what was right for him. So, turned out to be me. Sometimes I worry that I'm not enough for him, but it was those moments when you guys were my voices of encouragement, my voices of blessings, and the encouragement made a big difference back in those days when I was fighting in court and ugly things were being said about me. And yeah, so those were really tough times, and so many of you guys saw me through those. And so I'm a much more zen person now that he's adopted. That's my boy. That will never change. He calls me Mom. Well, he calls me Cyndee, but at school, he refers to me as his mom, which warms my little old heart. I love that kid so much, and sometimes I think that he was the reason that I was so drawn to children all of my life, and why I spent so much time with children, and why I did the research that I did, and why I cared so much about them. I think God was preparing me to parent that little boy who had nobody. My parents separated, and my dad's leaving was devastating for me, and I always told myself growing up I would never, ever have a child without having a dad for him, because I thought kids needed both. I still think kids need both. And I thought there are so many, even as a child, This was stuff that formed in me in my preteen years, and even as a child, I knew that dads were important, and I didn't want to do it wrong for another kid, right? But I also knew that there are so many kids out there in the world that have nobody, and those are the kids that I could give myself to. And so I always did that. I was always the Pied Piper of children. I always had a troop of kids following after me. I always, and still do, have the heart of a child, and I try not to take anything too seriously, and I try to, have a upbeat attitude about everything, because, there are things you can't change in life, and why cry about them? We can cry, and sometimes we need to cry, but so often we let ourselves get bogged down with, as my Sean used to say, with the small stuff. We sweat the late getting the dinner on the table, or we sweat the I didn't get my art right, and I don't know what to do, and now I'm all upset and mad. Or we sweat the inner relationship problems that we have, which those are worth sweating. But can we let go of those things and go on and still get joy out of our lives? And from losing Sean, I learned that I have to find my own joy. And for a long time, I didn't think there'd be any joy, but I'm finding it again. And losing someone, whether it's by suicide like him or something else, we got to keep our hearts strong. We've got to live for God, live for ourselves, live for our families. We have to live for others. We have to be there for the people that need us. We don't have time. And perhaps my fears for Mari after that time were such that I couldn't grieve. Not really. I was so angry with Sean for leaving Mari in that mess, and me in that mess, and having to deal with his family, and the hate that was coming from them, and it was just ugly. And but I made it. I survived, and I come to realize that year and a half I just took off, I think that was finally my body letting down after all those years of stress, and just sort of collapsing, because it was so tired of fighting, and so tired of being strong, and just tired. And so I really think that's a big part of why I don't know what's wrong with me here, why I couldn't quite get myself together, and I couldn't keep going, and I was really struggling so hard to just, get up. So anyway, okay, so let's see how this looks. Good, not bad. So I think now I'm going to do torn screen all the way around in a circle, and then I'll leave the corners open. Okay? So if you've never done torn screen, it is really, really simple. What you do is you put some straight lines across, like in a screen. And here and there, you're going to leave some gaps. Okay? It doesn't matter where you put them. You want a couple in the same general space. Cyndee. But they don't have to be perfect. Okay? And so now we're going to turn the tile, and we're going to make the cross the cross ones, and when we get to these little white spots, we're going to try to leave some more white spots. Yep. That was my technical speak. So just like we've got a, what? Torn screen. And you can put a little through there, but you just want the impression that not everything is together, right? And if you leave a gap on the bottom and you don't on the top, that's okay too. See, my lines aren't straight, but still very cool, right? So this is what I'm going to do in the rest of these. So if I can think of something to talk about, I might. And if I can't, I won't. And I'll stick some music in there. Or speed it up. Or both. You just never can tell with me. And from one space to another, you might put them in a different spot. You know, it's completely, entirely up to you. Or alternately, you can put them all in the same spot. Or if you want to do one without any, you can do that too. This is just truly cross-hatching with sparkles, right? And remember, a sparkle is just a blank spot in an otherwise solid line, and we use those to purpose, such as this. And it's a way of leaving highlights in the patterns without, like, using a pen or something. Okay. Moving right along. You can do them either direction to start, whatever you want. It's not going to matter. The point is some holes in the lines. The other fill that worked really well was just the straight lines across, like we've been doing those hatch lines. So, you know, if you want to try that, that actually worked pretty well too. And that needs, I felt like that needed to be right up on the edges too. But of course, your art. You decide. Whoops. That's not a torn screen, that's a crazy screen. Well, that worked out well. I kind of like that one. Well, they're all pretty good. Okay. Torn screen can also be done with a curved grid. So, something to think about. I think I had a curved example in one of mine in my sketch pad, but I don't think I want to do any down here because I'm getting lazy. All right. I don't know what I'm doing on this one. Don't even worry about it. Just take your time. Try not to rush. That's the key. You almost always get a good result when you just take your time. And for this pattern, that the big deal for this is just the drawing in of the framework. This pattern is an example of using a tangle pattern as a reticula, and a reticula is the framework for other patterns. And so this is a perfect example of doing that. We used the initial pattern as a framework for adding all of these other patterns. And it's a really cool deal. You can do this with a lot of tangles. And so, you know, try it out sometime, see what happens. What is it, tiny dog? How's mommy doing on time? Not very well, since it's 2:30. Holy crap. I gotta get moving, kids. I'm not gonna be able to finish this whole thing. And I at least want to do some shading and tile tidying. So this is where I'm going. You guys get the idea. Let me shift focus, since again running out of time, to shading. So on these, we're going to want to, in the flux sections, you're going to want to shade them. If you've got them as big as mine, you're going to want to shade them individually, right? Just at the base. It provides a really awesome look. All right, that's a big enough one to get a little charcoal or a little graphite. And whoops, I'm really jerky again today, so not the beef kind. Okay, and then for the torn screen, you just want to put some all the way around. Now, theoretically, I have not tried that, but you could just cover the whole thing in a light sheen of graphite, you know, put it around the edges, and then, but you want it around the edges so that you can show, number one, differentiation between the two patterns, but number two, a sense of these being behind the framework, right? And one other thing we're going to do to reinforce that is by reinforcing our lines after we've done our scrubbing for the shading, after we've done our blending, because the 01 ink marks can get really weak once you've scrubbed over them with a tortillon. So at least that's what I'm going to do. And so I'm going to use my pen very carefully, because these frame lines are really delicate. Uh-oh. You know what that means. Hold your ears, everybody. Hold your ears. We're going to sing. Or maybe not. Maybe they'll sing in there. Simba's more interested in what's going on outside. Okay. So let me find my tortillon. And blend this out just a little bit so you can see. But see all the scrubbing around the edges we're doing. Can make that tough. Can you guys please wait just a minute? Mommy's almost done and brother will be home with his friends, okay? I'm almost done. So just to make that a little bit more dynamic individually in there is interesting. And then, like I said, if you've got a dirty tortillon, you can go over the whole screen area if you want to dull that just a little bit. Okay, but what I really think is going to be helpful, and please God, let it be helpful and not a mess, because with me, 50-50, is to, after you've done the blending, is to take your PN carefully, or you can use your 01, but I just like the PN because it's a little thicker, and just reinforce that line ever so gently and carefully, Cyndee. Right? That's again going to set up the framework again. And push the pattern back a little bit. Okay, so ever so slightly. And then I'm going to leave these corners blank. Now, the other thing that I did consider is putting henna drum or something like footlights, or although that's a little bit too much for that space, but there are other things you can do, fandango or something like that, in these little interstices if you want to. But I kind of liked the look of reinforcing the outer edges and the bringing the framework into focus, as opposed to all of it being, so anyway. So, okay, that's where I'm going to stop today. This is Casual. Don't make me pronounce what's her name? Garate. Don't make me repeat her name again. That's just mean. It was a toughie, but I like it. It's different. Okay, guys, I'm going to see you guys tomorrow. Let's see how the tile turns out, and have a good weekend. We're almost done. And then we got some fun stuff coming up. Stay with me. I love you all. Mwah. Bye.